All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ASAP in the Morning. I am your host, Craig. Along with me, the co-host of the morning show, Ray Cruz. Good morning, Ray. How you doing this Tuesday morning?
I am doing great. It's a lovely, cool day here in Jacksonville for once. Not a hot day. It's supposed to be a high of 82 degrees, so I liken this weather a little bit better than the 90 degrees to 100 degrees with the humidity up almost 90-something degrees today. But, you know, baseball in the air. The Braves started off at 107 a day, so, you know, I'm getting ready for this little prelude to the Phillies and the Braves series, the National League East going at each other for a change in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Hope you got your morning coffee. It's 10:06 here on the East Coast, and there you go. He's got his Wawa ready to go, and as you can see, let's go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's get it going. Dustin says he's already got breaking news out of the NFL. I don't know what's breaking because it had to have happened literally in the last 30 seconds.
I bet you, let me guess. I bet you it's about the Carolina Panthers.
Maybe. We'll see.
No.
We'll see. Well, let us know what's in the comments there, Dustin. But hey, while y'all are joining in this morning, we are officially live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and now officially LinkedIn. Yes, we are on that professional platform as well. But if you want to check us out on any of the great platforms, catch us out Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon here on the East Coast on ASAP Network. You can find us on all the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. On YouTube, you can find us ASAP Sports Network, Facebook at All Sports All Plays, Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on Twitch at ASAP Network. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, throw a comment down below. We love interacting with everyone throughout the show, answer some questions in the different segments. But let us know. Dustin is now letting us know here to discuss roughing the passer. I don't think that's really breaking news, especially if anyone's watched Monday Night Football last night. Monday Night Football, Kansas City Chiefs take down the Raiders at home 30-29. But the big question surrounding this game, play calling a little bit maybe at the end, whether you should go for two. The analytics says one thing, and conventional wisdom might say the other. We'll get Ray's comments on that in a few minutes. But I think one of the really big things that happened last night is surrounding that roughing the passer, where Chris Jones had strip sacked David Carr. In the replay, it shows he comes down, his momentum is pushing him forward. He comes down, strips the ball straight from Derek Carr. I do that all the time. I call him David Carr. I am so sorry. Not sorry. You know, it is what it is. If you were that much better than David, then you would, people would remember your name. So, but anyway, Derek Carr gets the strip sack, and he falls on top of Carr. And in that process, his body weight carries through his momentum, and they call a penalty, which then negates the strip sack, negates the turnover. The Raiders get the ball back, and Twitter went absolutely bonkers in response to this play. Ray, I'll open it up to you, and then we'll get into your thoughts about the game. Roughing the passer, what's going on in the NFL that the referees, the officiating crews, now in back-to-back nights cannot get a correct call on roughing the passer?
Well, Depends on what quarterback is back there. Because Mahomes got hit in the head. The definition is you're protecting the quarterback at all costs. If the quarterback gets hit in the head by the hand or nothing, that should be a roughing the passer call. That should be a personal foul call. That was dressed in by the NFL about 2 years ago. Mahomes gets hit in the head, no call. He gets roughing the passer. His head was even harder than Tom Brady's hit. No roughing the passer call. Dude, you got to be aggression about this thing. If you're making a legal tackle, stripping the ball, and you come down, yes, the momentum is going to carry you forward. How can you stop the forward momentum? What are we playing? Tag football back there? Are the quarterbacks too fragile? Are they made out of ceramic? What is it? It seems like I'm gonna put it in the Kindle here. It seems like more white quarterbacks get the personal foul calls than the black quarterbacks. Period. That is totally wrong and BS. And we were backstage talking about it too. I think some of these referees are making bets on these games that they are calling.
I'm not gonna go out in public and say all that, but I think there's definitely something very suspicious about it, because you look at the plays, and I thought it was really interesting that even later in the game, on multiple occasions, defensive ends had wrapped up the quarterback. This happened to Carr and to Mahomes. They wrapped up the quarterback, basically a big bear hug, and they just stood there and they waited for the whistle to blow. I think that's unfortunately the direction that the NFL is trying to take it. I understand trying to get rid of some of the plays like what happened to Tua a few weeks ago now. I understand trying to get rid of that. But at what point, to go on to a point that was made on this show yesterday, at what point are you taking away from the integrity of the game and from the, just from what the game really is? Everybody that follows and or has played football, it's a very violent sport. Like, just by nature, it's a very violent sport. Guys' shelf lives are not very long because of the nature of how this sport is played. But when you throw in some of these violent hits, you can even go back a few years to looking at some highlight clips of even the early mid 2000s of some of those hits that were made, and you look at it and go, that definitely wouldn't fly today. But now guys are, as they continue to develop earlier in their lives, now guys continue to get bigger, stronger, faster, can deliver more violent hits than the previous generation. And now you're having to figure out, okay, where's the actual line here to have the players safely play this game in a very naturally violent sport. So that's the big question right now, is what's roughing the passer? Dustin had made the comment in here that they're having an emergency press conference to discuss it. I don't think that it's just the discussion needs to happen. Ray, you made the comment that it's about the consistency in which these officiating crews make these calls.
Yeah, they're not consistent from one game to another. And for a prime example is that the Philadelphia Eagles against the Jaguars last. I'm going to use the Jaguars for a reference, because these two calls are a reference from how you show his inconsistency. One crew let the Philadelphia Eagles push their running back 5 extra yards before they blew the whistle when we played them. The Jaguars had the same situation on a 4th and 1. The offensive line got behind them. They started pushing him. The running back was still going forward. They blew it dead and made him go 4th and short. 2 referees, 2 different crews, 2 different set of rules. They're not putting it in the same content and not consistent enough. So to make it fair, what are we gonna have? The quarterback wearing different colored jerseys, so like they do in practice, where you can't hit them, or are they gonna put a flag on the quarterback and say, "Hey, you pull the flag, and we'll blow it dead."
Yeah, they just got to get consistent with what the call is going to be made, and that if you looked into it, the referees are just making the calls based on how the rules are written and how the NFL wants to enforce said rules. So the comments also were made yesterday about this is, I think, where the NFL, and this has been a conversation for a number of years now, and I think it still rings true even more today. The NFL needs to go the route of the NBA, to where not only do you hire full-time officiating crews, not this part-time stuff, okay? You've got enough money that you can give referees full-time pay, full-time benefits, train them year-round, have them go to seminars, whatever it is that you need to do. But then also, I like what the NBA does, even if it's a bit of a shell of what it's supposed to be. They do these 2-minute reports, essentially. The last 2 minutes of each quarter, and the last 2 minutes of each quarter, they do reports of what calls are made, and they'll also fine referees for bad calls after the league reviews the tape of the previous games. So they will. The NFL, I think, needs to go that route.
Well, to answer that question, they have hired only like 5 officials. That's what they said. They hired 5 officials.
That's a good start.
And like I said, like I mentioned yesterday, was they need to hire these officials full time and do like what NFL teams are doing. You take the official, you have the head officials, take these officials, sit them down after every freaking game. You take one crew one day, say, hey, we're going to go over your game. This is what I found. This is what needs to be corrected. This is what this. Then you get the issue of these roughing the passer. You get them all sitting together and you go over it. Say, okay, you take every scenario of roughing the passer that was called and say, why you call this? This does not meet the rules. I understand that Anthony Price said that the full body weight and stuff like that. But sometimes when you make a perfect legal tackle, your body's going to land on top of the quarterback 9 times out of 10, because the quarterback's going to either try to roll from you, and you cannot stop a momentum. Who in the world at 6'7" or 6'5", 300 some odd pound dude can stop that momentum going forward? Not even a 160 pound guy can stop that momentum going forward.
Right. It's very difficult to be able to, stop completely when you're running at full speed and you're trying to go all out, especially like these defensive linemen do. Their goal is to get past the offensive lineman, get to the quarterback, get to the running back, whoever has the football.
Right.
At this time, we're going to bring in welcome Frankie the Yankee this morning. Morning, Frankie. Oh, there he is. He is all decked out in Yankees gear, ready for the ALDS game 1 happened today.
Yes.
Morning, Frankie. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing fantastic. Like you said, ALDS day, baby. And I'm just glad that it starts off with the Braves, because I get to sit back and enjoy some baseball. I got the third game going on tonight at 7:35, I believe. So I get to sit back and enjoy. It's a good day. But it's a bad day for football, because I've been watching you guys since the start. I'm dealing with my kids and stuff. I had to put on the gear and get ready. and then I'm hearing, about the passing or the sack, and it's ridiculous. 2 days in a row that this had happened, and I agree with you guys. That was excuse my language, but it was a bullshit call. I clearly seen it. He wrapped his arms around the quarterback the way it was supposed to be tackled. He didn't go to the head or neck area. He didn't go below the waist for the legs. It was a clean tackle to me, and for them to call roughing the passer call, it is just ridiculous. And I'm not going to say what Ray said live as well, but I kind of agree to his point too, because it's really ridiculous that these passing or these roughing the passer calls are coming more on white quarterbacks compared to African American quarterbacks. It's ridiculous to me. So hopefully something can change in the NFL.
That's the big thing as well, is about making sure that, to your point, you're kind of trending towards consistency as well. That's the big thing. That's all fans want. That's all we want as fans of the NFL, is just, if you're going to make a rule based on what your rule book says, and you tell the officiating crews to call it accordingly, just be consistent. That's all we ask for as fans. Just be consistent in your calls, because when you're not, this is what happens. You got everyone talking about, well, Tom Brady's play, versus the Patrick Mahomes play. I think Anthony Price had mentioned that in here already. The Brady call versus the Pat Mahomes call. The Tua versus Brady's. You can look at those kind of in the same light, similar to how they were just kind of taken down just with less violence force in Brady's case. Just call it consistently. That's all we ask for as fans. And I think that's what the NFL's really got to, unfortunately, this is now the second or third year in a row off the top of my head that I can think of that we've had some really egregious calls, and they said that they were going to address it accordingly.
I go longer than 3 years. I think it's been going for like 5, maybe 6 years now.
Yeah, I know for sure. We said yesterday going back to the replacement referees because they went on strike, and that was a bad look, having the replacement referees messing up calls each and every week. But then even when they came back, we felt like, okay, maybe the officiating crew, maybe things will get better, and they seemed like they did. I mean, there are a lot of, to their credit, there are a lot of good officiating crews out there. But there are just, unfortunately, there's these gray area calls like this roughing the passer that now we don't know, depending, Ray mentioned it, we don't know based on who the crew is and who's on the field is basically how these calls are being made. And that's the inconsistency that we want to get rid of as fans.
I think they should have kind of like what the umpires have in baseball. You know how when they show the umpire's name and everything like that, they go like the frequency with hitter friendly, pitcher friendly, or neutral. I think they should start doing that with the head referees. When they start to call that first penalty, are they quarterback friendly? Are they defensive friendly? Or are they neutral? Are they going to call it right down the middle? Because to me, all these referees are looking like they're quarterback friendly.
Do you think that opens up a big can of worms though for the NFL? Because if you've got all you need is a quarterback friendly head referee headlining an officiating crew in a playoff game, when you've got a very key quarterback matchup, or say for instance you've got one of the teams in the playoffs has a solid defense and the other one's got a high powered offense with a big name quarterback, and now that officiant is the head of that crew. I think that opened the worms for the NFL, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
but I don't know.
I'll tell you what opens up.
So?
I'll tell you what opens up worms is when you have quarterbacks back there looking at the referees crying every freaking time they get hit, and expecting to get a call and stuff like that. Like Tom Brady whined for years, and I mean for years. Oh, I got hit. I'm hurt. Whatever. You're playing football. You're playing a man's sport. Be a man. I mean, I'm tired of these teams coming down to Florida here. Our guys are sitting out in the heat of the Florida weather and stuff like that, and the Texan shows up and got these guys holding up a shade for him, and you're looking at them like, oh, we tough, and then one of our fans, and it was funny because one of our fans went to the guy and says, why are y'all sitting underneath the damn shade? Why can't y'all be freaking real men? And one guy says, oh, they don't pay me enough money to get heat like this.
I mean,
prima donnas.
If I were that opposing team, I would do that too, because you got to try to protect your players, hydrate them enough, get them in the shade. It's hot as hell on the field. Not even standing in full pads, running around at full speed.
The Jaguars the Jaguars over there had nobody holding shades for them,
and that's their decision.
No, they're men. They're real men. Hey, I'm gonna tell you what. It's funny because when the Green Bay Packers come down here, they have a full AC assembly. I mean, freaking whatchamacallit comes in here, and then he goes sit down on the thing. Aaron Rodgers. They put this air conditioned jacket on him to keep him cool. I'm like, what the freak is this? Yeah, prima donnas, man.
That's what I would do. 100%. I live in Florida. There's no way I would not do that if I was playing in the heat like that.
Dude, I sit on the east side of the stadium. The east side of the stadium gets sun all game long. I'm sitting in the heat. Yeah, I could go in the AC if I wanted to, but I don't want to miss no action. So I sit out there in the heat, And I sit there and sweat and sweat and sweat. I literally leave the stadium, and they look at me like, "Are you dehydrated?" I said, "No, I sweat a lot." And I take my shirt off and wring it out, and you see all the water come out. I can fill almost a 5-gallon bucket.
You don't need that visual. That's. But to your point, I think you are correct in the fact that a lot of quarterbacks are just like the NBA and a lot of players there. They keep chirping. They keep chirping at the referees to get calls, and the referees are unfortunately giving in to some of these players. And I think what the NFL is going to have to address is you're going to have to address that problem. The NBA has tried to address it by basically saying if you chirp enough at the referee, we're giving them free reign to tee you up. We're giving them free reign to say, be like, hey, I'm done hearing your BS. I'm not going to let you talk to me that way anymore. That opens up a different potential doorway. But if the NFL were to allow the referees to do something like that, then you'd have guys who, even Brady has seemed to have gotten a little bit more and more animated with the referees over the last few years. Maybe if you allow the referees to kind of push back a little bit when it comes to having players trying to chirp at the referees to get calls, maybe some of this stuff gets curbed. It wouldn't happen overnight, but maybe that helps. And I think that's where some of these roughing the passer penalties are coming into play, is it's not just protecting players. You've also got the players, as Ray said, just chirping at the referees all game.
And you got the coaches too.
And you got all that playing into it. Because of course you're wanting to try, when you're the head coach or when we're fans of a certain team, we always see all the calls that don't go our way. We always see them all. But these referees are paid to see everything, not just one side of the football. So I understand from a fan's perspective is that's how we see it. We always see all the calls that never, they missed a holding there. It was borderline, probably was a good no call, but nope, we missed a holding there. Nope, missed that. Nope, missed that. The referees get paid to see everything. But when you've got everybody trying to influence the referees as much as that it's being done right now in the NFL, you end up getting some officiants that are leaning one way or leaning the other as far as what they call and don't call as far as pass interference is concerned, or roughing the passer like we're talking about right now.
I mean, and two, if you get sometimes, what was it? We had a referee 4 years ago down here. We found out that we were playing Denver. We found out that this one referee is from Denver, Colorado, calling the game. He would not call a single penalty on Denver the whole entire game. And he's looking right at the play. One of our dudes went up, our receiver went up, and the freaking defender hit the receiver before the ball even got there and knocked him off this plane. And it's purely pass interference, and everybody just looking at him like he would not call it. But if the Jaguar did the same way, he was calling it for them. I mean, you got to figure out, too, is these referees actually gambling on these games that they're calling? Because, I mean, Donahue for the NBA left a bad taste in everybody's mouth when they found out he was calling games that he was putting bets on. You know, you got Major League Baseball. You put Pete Rose out of the game of baseball for betting. Nobody in the NFL has looked at these referees and tried to check their financial statements and see if they're betting on these games themselves.
That's definitely something with the advent of sports betting becoming so much of a bigger topic over the last year or two in all of professional sports. That's definitely something I think all leagues are going to have to look into for sure. But changing focus a little bit to actually talking about the game that happened on the field. The Chiefs beat the Raiders 30-29. I'm just bringing up the stat sheet and stuff for everybody, as it eventually shows up, because live TV is great. All right, here we go. It'll show up eventually. There it is. One of the biggest surprises to me in this game was the fact that Josh Jacobs he ran wild. Josh Jacobs ran wild this game. He had 154 yards, a touchdown on 21 carries, and he was carving up the Chiefs defense. I don't think I remember the last time I saw somebody, and as far as how Jacob has been playing, and I don't think I've seen him play like that in a long time. So for him to come out and run the way he did, he had his way with the Chiefs defense, and I think that was a catalyst to why the Chiefs were, or I should say the Raiders were still in this game all the way till the very end.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it too, Kansas City don't run the ball much. They ran 23 times. They ran 24 times, 155 yards, but 154 of that was Jacobs himself. They would have had more, but, White had -7 yards for the Raiders. But if you look at the team rushing for here, they do it by committee. McKinney had 8 carries, 53 yards. Matt Mahomes, 4 carries, 28 yards. And then Claret Edwards-Helaire had 9 carries for 15 yards. Very, very bad ratio right there on that carry. 9 carries for 15 yards. He's averaging almost less than 0.6 yards a carry almost. But if you look at this, though, the receiving core came through for Kansas City, and Mahomes passing. And if you watch Mahomes, sometimes he gets hit, but he's got these baseball sidearm throws because he's a former baseball player. He makes these sidearm throws, and they're very accurate. Most times you see players make sidearm throws that go inaccurate, or they hit before, or they're not, or they get intercepted. But this guy's a magician back there. I think he kept he kept Kansas City close, getting out of plays, and But to me, in this game here, I know everybody said the analytics. I think analytics sometimes get in the way of making the right decision. I'm old school. I don't need analytics. Who in the world needs analytics? NFL had not had analytics all through the 70s, the 80s, half of the 90s. Analytics started coming around, probably 1999 to 2000 era. They started coming in with these stupid analytics thing, and then they changed the whole coaching. It's all about strategy. It's all about coaching strategy. Why you need analytics to tell you what you can see with your eyes? I mean, come on now. We know that onside kick is 0.5% a chance to get through. We don't need analytics to tell us that stat. We already know that. We can go back and watch game films over histories and see that. Going for a 2-point conversion, I understand that they were trying to get the win. I understand that. But still, you got a chance to tie the game up, take the tie, take your chance on defense, hoping your defense can make that one little stop. I mean, if you look at the history over time, Jaguars defense kind of sucked most of the year, most of the game, and then they one key play, they make a key stop and then turn the direction of the game. It could have happened. But coaches are letting these analytics get into them and going for 2 at that point. That wasn't the right thing to do. I think he should have tied the game up, hope the defense would stop them, don't get in the field goal, and then, play for overtime. I mean, but I understand that they're on the road in Kansas City themselves, and most times home team will win that overtime game. So going for 2, I know the coaching staff said they're standing by that. But then again, you had a good chance of winning this ball game. But now you're facing 1-4, and Kansas City is 4-1 now.
Mm-hmm. Frankie, your breakdown, your thoughts of the game at the end. At the end, you had the 2-point conversion that the Raiders went for, but even they got their stop and they had a chance to still march down the field and score at the end of the game. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I feel like Josh McDaniels is making really terrible play calling. Like Ray said, I would have went for the field goal, to take the 1-point lead. Defense gets a good stop, and hopefully, you can get the ball back and just take knees. But they obviously wanted to, win the game. I mean, we seen Kansas City do it earlier in the game too when they took the lead, when they took a 30-24 lead, I think it was, or something. They tried to go for 2 and they messed up. So if Josh McDaniels was smart, I would went for the field goal and just called it a day and just relied on my defense. And this is where Josh McDaniels is honestly going to lose his job, because this is about the third game where he had a really comfortable lead and he just blew it. I mean, yes, I understand it's the Kansas City Chiefs, and you never doubt them or whatever because they got Patrick Mahomes, they got Travis Kelsey, but still, you had a 17-0 lead before halftime. Uh, Actually, you had a 17-10 lead. I apologize, but still, you were up 17-0. You guys took the foot off the pedal. You guys should have kept going. You should have. You had Josh Jacobs running the ball really well. Devontae Adams finally looking like the wide receiver we thought he was gonna be, and
Whew.
and all hell just went to storm for the Raiders.
Yeah, I watched. So I watching that game. I agree. I actually agree with how the Raiders played it out because when the Chiefs scored to go up 30-23, they're already up 7. If they kick the extra point, they go up 8. That's still a game that can be tied. But they went for 2 to try to go up 9. That I understand. That's the strategy part. That's not analytics. That's full on strategy. I understand that. So I agree with that part. The Raiders have been able to move the ball pretty well on the Chiefs defense. Even though Devontae Adams only had 3 catches, but he had over 100 yards. He had multiple touchdowns. I was just really impressed with David Carr. It was the score to tie it up.
Derek
David
Carr.
Carr, David. I do this all the time. I'm just gonna have to practice saying Derek Carr.
David Carr is sitting in London right now doing on the NFL channel for all the London games over there.
I apologize. I keep doing this to the poor guy. Derek Carr, he throws on the run a 50-yard bomb that looks effortless to Devontae Adams. It looks effortless to Devontae Adams. And he does a little stutter step, beats the safety. He's already got the corner beat. He's gone. So that was a hell of a throw by Derek Carr. But then when they score, you're at 29-30. So do you kick the extra point to tie it, or do you go for 2 to try to win it? I agree with going for 2 because, again, yes, analytics might say that, but to me, the eye test says go for 2 in this scenario because your defense had shown to that point that they are not able to stop the Chiefs. They're not able to stop Kansas City's offense. You're in hostile territory. You're still 4.5 minutes to go. So even if you take the extra point and tie it at 30, you're giving Kansas City plenty of time to march down the field and score anyway. So if they go down, kick a field goal, you're still only down 2. So you can march back down the field, get a field goal to win versus trying to get a field goal, extra pressure to tie it. So I actually agree with those play calls by Josh McDaniels. And if it wasn't for Devontae Adams and Renfro colliding with each other on the last play of the game, we might be having a different conversation here. Credit to Kansas City because they pressed him at the line, they got him off of his rhythm, and they brought the blitz, and Carr had to get rid of it. Derek had to get rid of it like immediately. It probably was an overthrow anyway, because I don't think Devontae Adams was going to get there that quickly. But that play was preceded by an amazing sideline catch by Devontae Adams, but bobbled the ball as he was getting both feet down. It was not able to secure the ball and then get a second foot down again. So instead of having that third and a short, now you've got 4th and short for the game, and you're trying to dial up a play. But then I don't necessarily agree with the going deep part of it. But since Devontae Adams has already shown that he was able to get past the secondary pretty quickly, I agree with how it played out. However, I don't think it just didn't work out in the Raiders' favor. Yeah, now they dropped to 1-4. But I think they've now had four losses all this season have been within 6 points or less, which that's got to hurt to be a Raiders fan. You've got the offense. You've got the offense to keep up with teams. The defense actually give them credit. They made stops when they needed to force Kansas City to not try to, pad their lead. They had a chance to get the ball back, which is exactly what they did. They just couldn't get down to within field goal range and score. But I don't disagree with the calls by McDaniels, especially whether you look at analytics or eye test. I think the eye test tells me I'm on the road in a hostile environment. There's 4.5 minutes to go. So even if I tie it up, I'm still going to have to tie it up again later, potentially. Why not go for it? If it worked out, the Raiders might have just won this game. And now we're having a different conversation about the Chiefs and how they lost the game. So I think either way, they were kind of up the hill.
It was a good football game. I mean, you can't deny if you're a fan of football. It was a good game, all the way intense, all the way to the very end. You know, it's not one of those like Thursday night games that some team blow out another team. It's not eye peeling. These two teams were eye peeling. So I mean,
yeah, it was a great game throughout. I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed watching most of it last night, especially at the end. Travis Kelce, we can't move on without giving some love there. Travis Kelce has a record for 4 touchdowns. He only had 7 catches for 25 yards, but he had 4 touchdowns. I don't know his last touchdown to put the Chiefs up 30-23. I don't know where the defense thought Kelce was, but he was just wide open. There was legitimately, it was on the goal line. He had just done a little drag route to the back of the end zone. And you looked around when it was thrown, he looked and was like, oh, there's nobody here. And he just lightly caught it with his teammate behind him. And then that was it. You gotta know where Kelce is at all times. But hey, 4 touchdowns, hell of a game.
you say his stats was 25 yards total receiving. That's good because you want the tight end to catch most of his passes at the end zone. That's what the tight end's position is for.
He's a great red zone threat. That's for sure. But all right, moving forward, looking at what's upcoming for a team like the Raiders or a team like the Chiefs. The Raiders now sit in last. They're 1-4. They've now got they got a bye week this coming week. And then they've got Houston, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Indy. And on the other side, the Chiefs, they're 4-1, sitting at the top of the AFC West. They've got a huge matchup this next weekend at home against Buffalo, and then at San Francisco in week 7 before they go on a bye week in week 8. For the Raiders, I know, Frankie, you had already kind of touched on this, but for the Raiders, hitting this bye week, this is probably a great time for them to hit it because things just have not been going right for the Raiders all year outside of their one lone win against Denver. But you do get a chance to get back in the winning in the winners column against Houston after your bye week. New Orleans is another game that even though it's on the road, that's a potential win there. And then you got some AFC South opponents before you get back into division. Raiders, they've got very, very short amount of time to try to turn it around. But the Chiefs in Buffalo, that's going to be a fantastic game to watch coming up this weekend.
Let's go Chiefs.
Yeah, Frankie says, let's go Chiefs.
I really thought the
Those are
Steelers
good. That's
were
going
going
to be
off,
fun
guys.
games. All right.
I thought Kenny Pickett was going to do it, but he clearly followed his name and really picked it up.
Kenny Pickett definitely struggling.
He's a rookie. He's going to struggle.
I don't want to hear that rookie shit.
But you know they say the NFL game is faster than the college games. So
that is true.
Got to adjust to the speed of the game.
What the hell? You got Mike Tomlin, damn it.
It doesn't matter. You still got to adjust to the speed of the game.
It does.
Mitch Trubisky ain't even adjusted to reading coverage yet.
It does
matter. It's his third year.
You know why it matters? You know why it matters, Ray? Because Mac Jones, his rookie year, he had Bill Belichick. Trevor Lawrence, his rookie year, had Urban Meyer, and now has Doug Peterson, where he's playing better. It does matter with the coach.
It does, and that's where the coaches, and that's where the rest of the team picks it up too. Because generally, from a history speak, the Steelers generally play tough defense. They can run the football, and that helps young quarterbacks out. Look at what Ben Roethlisberger did in his rookie year. You know, in Pittsburgh, they ran the football. They played tough defense. They didn't ask Ben Roethlisberger to do too much. But the way that the NFL is currently set up, you know, you've got the expectations now that if you're a first-round quarterback, you are expected, if you start, you are expected to come in and light up the league. Unfortunately, that's just the way that we all address it as fans in the media, for right or for wrong.
God, Kenny Pickett was a first-round quarterback? I thought he got picked up in like the third round.
No, he was first round.
He was first round.
God, what a
20th
mistake
overall,
by the Steelers. What a mistake.
Yep. They took the homegrown kid.
Off of one play that got him so famous and banned from college football.
Yeah.
You ready for this? The head coach of the Giants used to be the offensive coordinator when Matt Jones was at Alabama in 2017.
Wait, what?
The head coach of the Giants used to be the offensive coordinator for Matt Jones at Alabama in 2017.
Oh, yeah, Brian DeBall, yeah.
Brian Dable, yeah.
He's my dude. He won a couple rings with New England early in his career.
All right, other NFL news. Ever since yesterday, we had the breaking news of Matt Rule getting fired by the Carolina Panthers. We had discussed that here on this show yesterday morning. But since then, now reports have begun to come out about players like Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore being shipped out of Carolina. So this begs the question of not only who's going to go, but where are these players going to go? It seems like the Carolina Panthers are about to have a big fire sale, Frankie. So if you're Christian McCaffrey, 26 years old, just signed a big contract extension not more than 2 years ago, dual threat out of the backfield, rushing, receiving. What teams should be looking at Christian McCaffrey to try to potentially make a trade?
I think right now the one team that should be looking at him will be the San Francisco 49ers. They lost their running back. I think he'll fit great there with Jimmy Garoppolo. The second team that I would have to say would be the Seattle Seahawks, who just lost their running back as well on IR with a broken leg. And I think he will fit perfectly with Pete Carroll's offensive schemes with Geno Smith. And then you got, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the outside. So he wouldn't be as much of a target like he is right now at Carolina. So I think those are the two teams that would probably fit more for him. I saw something about the Buffalo Bills trying to get Christian McCaffrey, and I don't know who put that up, but they're smoking something.
That's been a popular team that has come out from multiple sources recently. So there's apparently a few people all on the same stuff then by that account.
It's not going to happen. There was people that were saying Kevin Durant was going to go to the Knicks, and where did he end up? In Brooklyn.
Well, he went to New York.
To put this fire sale for the Carolina Panthers to bed, it wasn't the Carolina Panthers that went to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills went to the Carolina Panthers and put fillers out. They're putting fillers out if they're going to part ways with people. It's not Carolina Panthers saying, okay, I got a for sale sign. I got McCaffrey here for this. You give me these and this. I'll give you McCaffrey. It's not that. It's not them putting for sale signs up. It's teams when a coach gets fired. NFL vultures of team scouts will go to that team and ask for fillers. All right, you got rid of your coach. Are you going to completely get rid of everybody on your roster, or are you going to get rid of these people on your roster to try to go for a full rebuild with a new coach? I mean, if Carolina sells McCaffrey or trades McCaffrey, that's stupid because he's your building block. He's your building block right now. That when you have a new coach come in, he's got something to stabilize at the receiver and the running back position. Now he needs to go get a quarterback that's stable because right now we don't know where Baker Mayfield's status is. He's in a walking boot. They say he might be out a couple weeks. So now you got to figure out who your emergency quarterbacks are. Carolina's got more issues and just trying to say, hey, I'm gonna sell you this guy for this. I understand why the Buffalo Bills went to Carolina because the head coach came out of Carolina. He was the defensive coordinator at Carolina. I understand why they're trying to go coming to the Carolinas and asking them that. You know, you got to give teams credit. Yeah, they're going to ask, but I guarantee the Panthers said, no, we're going to keep him. He's going to be our future. He's going to be around our block, even though he's injured prone too. So
If I'm Christian McCaffrey, I'm not. I would leave Carolina. I'm done. I'm not dealing with another head coaching, change. It's like what, his third head coach within his entire career. He's going to be learning a whole new offensive system, and it's just too much. It's too much of a headache for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Ray. You know, him staying there because it'll be a smarter idea. Because he is basically the face of Carolina right now. But if I was him, I would be focused more on winning something right now, and he's not going to win anything with Carolina. Especially with their fourth new head coach coming up.
Yeah, I think that obviously always plays into it a little bit when you've got a new coaching staff. And Ray's right. Anytime that there's changes made, especially at head coach, the GM levels, anytime you get potential new ownership, teams are always inquiring about other players. They're always inquiring about, hey, what would it? Are you guys looking at moving this player? Are you interested in? One of our guys? You know, they're always those conversations that are happening. One team that would be very intriguing for me to see is the LA Rams. Now, the LA Rams need weapons, and they're always seems like the last couple of years they've been in a win now mode, hemorrhage the future. It seems like a very LA thing to do. Hey, let's trade away all of our draft picks and all of this so we can try to win a championship now this year. But the Rams would be a very intriguing prospect, I think, for teams. So the 49ers would definitely be up there. The Bills have obviously been kind of the lead of that conversation. But the Rams make a lot of sense, too, because you need more weapons than just Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee at tight end. None of the running backs in that room right now are doing anything really worthy of being a starting running back. And Christian McCaffrey gives you not only that running ability, but he also gives you can move him around. I would love to see what Sean McVay would do with him, dialing up plays for him in the slot, maybe put him in the backfield, just run him around and get him the ball. But regardless, no matter who's calling, you still have to make a deal, right? So if you're Carolina, what is your asking price for somebody like Christian McCaffrey, knowing he's injury prone, knowing he's in his late 20s, and he's got a big contract that you just gave him an extension a couple of years ago?
Well, he's not. If you look at the age and you look at his history, nobody's going to give you a first round pick for him. You might get a late second round or possibly a third round pick for him as of right now. But if he moves later on in his years, if he stays to Carolina to his end of his contract and Carolina trades him before the end of his contract's out, he's going to be worth probably about a fifth or sixth round if you wait any later. If you do it now, you can possibly get a second or a third round pick for him.
You don't think he'd be worth a first round pick?
Not because he's injury prone and his because he's always been injury prone. I mean, who's gonna give a first round pick for a guy that possibly can't even make it to the end of the year or end of the season?
Valid point. Frankie, what if you're the Carolina Panthers? What are your expectations if someone calls and asks about Christian McCaffrey and say, hey, what's it going to take to get this guy? What is your asking price for Christian McCaffrey?
I don't know. I don't know what Ray's doing down there in Florida. He's got something going on illegal down there, and I need to go hit him up because I think Christian McCaffrey is a first round. He can get a first round pick out of either a first round pick followed by a next year maybe second or third round pick. You get 2 draft picks out of Christian McCaffrey and maybe a player or two depending on It all depends on how this year turns out. If he can actually play out throughout the whole year. Yes, he is injury prone, but Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. If he could stay healthy, that man is dominant on the field, no doubt about it. And the only reason why he's so injury prone is because he's in Carolina making all these cuts and making all these wild routes for Carolina to try and get them some victories. And the offensive line is just terrible, and they can't protect anything. I feel like that's the only main reason Christian McCaffrey's always hurt. But if he could go to a team that has a good offensive line and doesn't have to use a lot of workload off of Christian McCaffrey, it will be perfect for him. And I think he'd still be worth a first-round draft pick.
It has been well documented that Carolina has run Christian McCaffrey into the ground as far as how much usage and carries and touches they've given him over the last couple of years. So from that perspective, that obviously plays into a guy's health and looking at how much they utilize him versus how much damage he's taking because of the results of those plays. That usage definitely plays into it. And I think that's a scenario. I don't think it would be nearly as high as, say, a Russell Wilson. You take out the extension thing because that would be played out differently. But I think from multiple draft picks and maybe some players involved, I think that's probably what Christian McCaffrey would go for, especially if you go to a team like the Bills or the Rams. They're in win now mode. So they're not going to want to be like, hey, we'll give you like a 5th round pick for Christian McCaffrey. But yeah, we're going to take him. Then we're going to go win the Super Bowl. The Panthers are going to go, no. We know how much you want him. Give us a first, a second, and this guy and that guy, and then we'll talk. And I think some of the teams are going to answer it.
The Panthers would be wild and probably throw in Stephon Diggs. It's like we'll give you Christian McCaffrey and you give us Stephon Diggs, and then the Bills will just look at them all and say like, "Yeah, you're crazy."
Hey, sometimes when you got vultures like that coming for you, teams ask so much for it just to see if you're willing to see what your interest really is about. And if you don't do it, but also you got to remember too, running back shelf life is not like it used to be. Running back shelf life is shorter in a shorter span now. So you're not going to probably get about another maybe 6 or 7 years out of him. And if he stays healthy enough, you might get a good 6 or 7 seasons. But if you don't, then you're going to start your first round draft pick for him, and he stays injured. Then you lose your first round draft pick for an injured guy that sits on the IR.
Ray, I'm glad you said that, because here's the thing: if you're safe, for instance, the Bills, right? If you're the Bills, you only have to worry about winning the Super Bowl over the next 2 years, because that's all Christian McCaffrey has left on his deal. You don't have to worry about 6 or 7 years. Yeah. If you get rid of a first round draft pick for the next year and a second for the year after, and you win a Super Bowl in one of those 2 years, that's easy. I'll take that all day. I will take that all day.
But Carolina knows with the how long he's got left on his contract, and he knows how good now, since the Buffalo Bills played their hands and went out for a filler with him. Now he gives Carolina, say, hey, look, now all right, you want him, but where are you willing to give us? You got to give us some value in return. So what do you got on your team that Carolina wants? Only probably Stephon Diggs.
Well,
they're not going to give Allen away. So, right. Diggs will be the one that they probably go after.
And I don't even think it's that, because Carolina now is in a position that they're not going to ask for somebody like Stephon Diggs. They're not going to ask for somebody of a big name for those, because A, they know they won't get it. And B, you're going into another rebuild. Essentially, that's what they're doing right now, is you have nobody outside of Christian McCaffrey. Maybe somebody like a Brian Burns on defense is who you can start building some stuff around. But you don't have, if you get rid of Christian McCaffrey, you're going into an all-out rebuild mode. So there's no way that you're going to go to there's no way you're going to go to a Bills and say, hey, we want Stephon Diggs, and then we'll give you Christian McCaffrey. There's going to be a lot of draft picks involved, because that's essentially what a lot of these teams will do. But you also mentioned the shelf life for running backs. While you are correct, one thing that Christian McCaffrey does really well that other running backs don't is he's extremely effective out of the backfield as a receiver. Many other guys can't do that in the NFL, and that puts a higher value on Christian McCaffrey. And you could, if you have a good offensive coordinator, move him around, get him the ball in different places to try to limit how many times he just runs between the tackles like a Josh Jacobs last night for the Raiders. He does things well at the backfield, but his primary role is to run through the tackles. And Christian McCaffrey is dynamic enough that you can put him in different spots in the field. And if you got other weapons on the team as well, you could actually extend his life, as his football life, that is.
Yeah, you can play him as a third down back if you need to. Take him away from being an every down back, put him in third down situations, put him in different packages. Yeah, you can do that too. But then again, you're going to give a little bit more injury risk for him because he's out there trying to cut, do routes and everything else. So you put a little bit more strain on his legs too. So, but if I was Carolina and Carolina wants to get a first round pick, I'll go to Buffalo and say, hey, you got to give me your first, second, and third round for him because I know how bad you want him.
And I think that's a conversation that will come up is first round, a couple picks this year, a couple picks next year at minimum is probably going to be the asking price for Christian McCaffrey, no matter who comes calling. But I agreed. I don't know about first, second, and third all in the same year, but I guarantee you that will probably be some conversations of picks this next year, picks the following year, maybe even 3 years down the road. Not really sure, but the type of potential that Christian McCaffrey could give a Super Bowl contending team is essentially, look at what the Rams did, is they sold a lot of draft picks to go out and win a Super Bowl, and that's exactly what they did. You can't take that away. What's that?
It's haunting them this year.
It does, and that's the one thing about trading away so many picks. LA Rams are seeing that in full force right now. But that's what teams are now pushing for when they're trying to go out and get players that can help push them over the top, which is why I think teams that are coming after Christian McCaffrey, potentially, they're going to end up having to trade draft picks for this coming year, the following year, maybe even further than that. So that's what you're weighing is, do you think that Christian McCaffrey is going to help put you over the top? I think he would. It just depends on what team and what offense does he fit into. Oh, what else NFL news we got today? I think that was really about it for NFL. There's still more conversation about now who's next on the hot seat.
Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels after last night. Ron Rivera's name is on the hot seat as well.
Dan Campbell
will be on the hot seat after this year. I guarantee you that. Especially starting the way they did. But all right, so DJ Moore is one of the other names that's been kind of tossed around as feelers. But looking forward for the Carolina Panthers, not only you got to figure out who's your head coach going to be, what direction you want to take the franchise. They don't have any quarterbacks anymore. Ray, you just mentioned it. Baker Mayfield now down with an ankle injury. You're already missing Sam Darnold. Who's gonna run quarterback for the Panthers? They've got a lot of question marks. You hit it right.
Space Ghost.
Who?
Space Ghost.
Space Ghost.
If Aaron Donald comes back, you put his Space Ghost stuff out there.
There you go. The Carolina Panthers have a lot of question marks that they have to address over the next couple years.
If I was Carolina, I'd just go ahead and tank the rest of the season, get your first round draft pick, the number one pick, and move on.
Number one pick and just move on from there.
Yep.
All right, let's change some gears. We're 1 hour into the show here on ASAP Network, and let's talk about some MLB postseason.
Oh,
the Division Series starts today.
Get ready, Ray. Get ready, Ray.
I'm always ready.
Frankie's ready. Phillies and Braves kick it off today at 1 o'clock, just after 1 o'clock. Mariners, Houston is at 3 o'clock roughly, and then the Yankees, Guardians later on tonight, and then to cap it off, the Padres and the Dodgers around 9:30 tonight as well. Hey, when we're looking at these division series, gentlemen, which I know you guys probably have your own that you're looking at, but which of these series is most intriguing to you? Ray, we'll start with you.
Oh, I got two of them. I think it's Houston and Seattle and San Diego Padres and LA.
Yes.
And the reason I say LA and San Diego is I want to know how many times a fan goes to LA and how many times they're going to have stabbing in the parking lot, because either with the Giants or San Diego coming to town, they always have some stabbing in the thing. And I'm actually true. That is a Vegas prop bet. I looked it up. That is a Vegas prop bet. How many times people going to get stabbed leaving that stadium tonight?
Oh, my goodness.
It's a prop bet.
LA for you. That's LA for you.
Yeah, I mean... Oh, wow. LA.
Maybe searching the funniest things, I swear to God.
Hey, dude. Hey, you got to be comical sometimes. You know, you want to get people to watch you, and you're going to be serious all the time. You can't be comedy. You can't have nobody laugh. You ain't going to get no serious people coming here and sit there and watch you being serious. You got to have some entertainment value. I'm adding some entertainment value because I went out and looked at this prop bet. I looked at a lot of prop bets in these baseball series. You know, for the Yankees, how many times Aaron Judge is going to get hit by a baseball? That's a prop bet.
Yeah.
How many times Houston's going to give Seattle? How many times Houston going to steal Seattle's signs? It's a prop bet. It's all there. Oh, for Atlanta, how many times Aguna is going to steal a base? Or how many times he's going to pull a hamstring and run into first base? It's a prop bet.
That's funny.
There is.
That's funny. I think one of the biggest factors that played out in the wild card division or the wild card series was the winners of those series also won the series, the season series against their opponents. So looking forward to that in this division, in this divisional round series, I think for some teams that's not going to bode well. For instance, yes, the Guardians have great pitching, great defense. But when you're talking about how they've played against the Yankees this year, their Yankees took 5 out of 6. It just, I don't think they match up well. The Guardians don't match up well with the Yankees. I know you're laughing, Frankie, but I mean, the Yankees really won't have a true test, in my opinion, until at least the ALCS.
Yeah.
Even if they played Tampa Bay, they were 11-8 against Tampa Bay over the season. They still had Tampa Bay's number overall, even though, a lot of those games were close contested games. But the fact is, when you match up the Yankees and the Guardians, this is not much of a matchup to me. I think this one probably is sweep.
Well,
yeah, Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
I got one interesting thing. The Atlanta Braves and the Phillies series, both teams are under 3 games during the day games. That's something to watch out for today.
Ooh.
Both teams are under 300 during day games.
And Atlanta's season series against Philly, they're 11-8 against Philly in the overall season series. So pretty close between these two teams. That's probably going to be, to me, I think that's the most intriguing matchup of the division series for me, because a lot of their games, they've each taken each other's punches essentially, and now the Phillies seem like they're finally hitting a stride, not only at the plate but with their pitching, and how they were able to limit the Cardinals in the wild card series and take 2 games when a lot of us thought that that series would go the full distance.
Yeah. Just think about this too. The Atlanta Braves has not had but one sacrifice bunt all season long. That came during the Mets series. The last series they played the Mets, they finally bunted the ball to move a runner to second base. Not once this season they done that. It's either home runs, base hits, or triples and doubles. to get their runs. But today I want to see what which Max Fried are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that he struggled against Philly, or are we going to get the one that went through the World Series and helped us win the World Series last year? Which Max Fried are we going to get? We're going to get the regular season Max Fried, or we're going to get the postseason Max Fried. So
that's going to be interesting. One thing to note, we didn't talk about this over the last couple of days. Spencer Strider, of the rookie phenom pitcher for the Braves, he forgoes his last year of arbitration, signs a $72 million deal with the Braves.
Why not?
And I mean, that if you're the Braves, that's a great deal for you, especially considering how his trajectory, Strider's trajectory, could be over the next couple of years if he continues to pitch the way he's pitched this year.
I ain't worried about that. I'm not worried about him signing because I knew he was going to do that anyway. Before go his arbitration, he's already said that he likes Atlanta. The person I'm worried about right now, and I don't want that. I hope his agent doesn't do what Freeman's agent did, and what Freddie Freeman did not know that his agent, that the Braves matched the Dodgers bid for him. His manager, Freddie Freeman's manager, liberally got bought by the Dodgers to tell him a make-up number that the Braves did not match so he could sign with the Dodgers. When the Braves series, when Freeman came back to Atlanta, he went to the front office himself and asked him, did he actually match that deal? The Braves said, yes, we matched it, and we gave you an extra $1 million on top of that. That's when Freeman there. So now Dansby's is up for a re-sign after this season. We don't need to lose him. Huh?
And he fired his agent for that, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
That's why he fired his agent. That day in Atlanta, he came out of the office.
I remember that.
And fired him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the next person's up for being signed after this season is Dansby. We cannot lose Dansby. If we lose Dansby, we lose our rest of our heart and soul of the team.
You already lost your heart and soul of the team.
No, Dansby took that over this year. He took it over this year.
I like one person on the Braves. His name is Ian Anderson. He's from my area. He graduated from Shenandoah High School, and that's about like 15 minutes from my house. And I actually watched him play at Shenandoah High School, and he got drafted to the Braves right out of high school. And I think he did good for you guys last year. And I haven't seen him much this year. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been good at certain points of the season. Like the key games for him was New York series. He's always good against the New York team.
Yeah,
New York Mets. He did something sort of like what Chipper Jones used to do to the Mets, kill him with base hits, and that's what he did against the Mets series. He was some of the big battle points in there. But then again, people ask me why. I'm a kid from North Carolina. We didn't have a Major League Baseball team. They ask me why I became a Atlanta Braves fan, and they always say, "Oh, we know Chipper Jones is your favorite player." No, my favorite player ever for the Atlanta Braves was Dale Murphy. That was my favorite player, and he's still my favorite player as Atlanta Braves. And when people ask me why is he my favorite, because he played for all that losing team. He built that team to where he started winning in the 90s. He was part of that heart and soul till the Braves side. He got too old and sent him to the Phillies. So, but I went back. I go all the way back to the 80s. I go back with Dale Murphy, Glenn Hubbard, Claudell Washington, Bruce Sutter as a closer, Bruce Benedict as the home plate, Bob Horner as third base, Chris Chambliss at shortstop, Dale Murphy center field, Claudell Washington and left. I'm
a 90s man.
So
I only know Derek Jeter, Andy Petty, A-Rod, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, Mark Teixeira. I only know those type of people.
You grew up in a very very good era for Yankees baseball.
Yes.
I remember Atlanta Braves playing in the National League West as the East team.
These are the standings for the NL West of the MLB from the current season.
There you go. Whoever's doing that, that's your.
I don't know. My watch said that. I don't know. I said the National League West, and they started playing.
Siri's your wife?
My watch.
Oh, your watch. I thought you said your wife. I was like, wait, your wife is Siri? Sir, we got some questions.
No, I got too many kids to be having an electronic for my wife.
But I think this series, the Phillies and the Braves, is probably the most intriguing matchup, because if you look at how the rest of these series have played out in the regular season, the Dodgers have the Padres number. They were 14-5 against the Padres this year in the regular season. And the Houston Astros were 12-7 against Seattle in the regular season as well. So I think if you look at just how that played out in the wild card of how these teams matched up with each other in the regular season and those splits, if you translate that to the division series, which of course things are a little bit different. Things are a little bit different now because you're talking about teams getting hot in the postseason. And, if you get hot at the right time, just like we saw with the Braves, if you get hot at the right time, you can make a deep run into the playoffs and win a World Series. And I think that might play into a little bit, I think, with the Astros and Mariners. But if you're looking at just on paper, coming into this divisional round series, I think Phillies and Braves have to be the most intriguing just based on how it played out during the season.
Well, I'll give you that too. But Atlanta Braves, if you want to go with your analogy, the Atlanta Braves didn't have a good record against the Dodgers last year, and they beat the Dodgers. So, I mean, that does entail sometimes, but when you say teams get hot at the right time is a perfect example. But you also, what worries me is this first game is the Padres, the Philly, the Mariners, and the Guardians all have played a series already. The Braves, Dodgers, Houston, and New York had to take that time off. 4-game rest right now for them. So now, are they going to come out and be rusted? That's going to be the key for the teams that haven't played yet.
Yeah, that's always the big question is if you have that extended time off. We've seen it play out in the past where teams have gotten that extra time off, whether it was sweeping the previous series and then their opponent ended up going to 7 games and then jump in. The teams that consistently play are teams that also generally can get hot or stay hot, if you will. So I think that'll be an interesting scenario to watch play out, is the fact that the Padres did play that extra game against the Mets. The other 3 series all ended in sweeps, in 2-game sweeps. So those play an effect in that. So I think that's going to be something to definitely watch out for in the division series.
Yeah.
So predictions starting tonight. Who takes game 1 in each series, gentlemen? Let's jump into that real quick. We'll start with Frankie. Obviously, I think I know who you're going to pick in one of these games. But Yankees, Guardians, who are you taking game 1?
God, it's just really, really difficult for me. I mean, like the Cleveland Guardians, they literally swept Tampa Bay. They looked really scary. I mean, they scored a total whopping 3 points against Tampa Bay. I'm really, really nervous. I don't know what might happen, but obviously they're gonna get swept by my boys, the Yankees, because we're gonna dominate all over Cleveland, and we're just gonna go on to the ALCS. So that's just gonna happen. So I think the Yankees are gonna win. Obviously, Houston versus Seattle. That's a really good game. Honestly, I think that's more my main watch game for this series. Just because it's 2 division teams that are facing each other that should know each other very much. And just like Craig said, Houston has the numbers over Seattle this year. But like Ray said, the numbers always does not work out in other people's favors during postseason time, because these players turn around and they actually play real tough ball. These guys looked really good against Toronto. They came back from 8-1 to win it 10-9, and that just tells me right there that they're here to fight. And I think they have a good matchup against Houston. Also, I have to have a close eye on this game because whoever wins, obviously, I have to face in the ALCS. Uh, Atlanta Phillies. I honestly, I think Atlanta's going to win that series tonight or today. I think Atlanta's going to win it just because I like the Atlanta bullpen and their starting rotation. They're really good. I also like their lineups. Austin Riley is he's doing phenomenal this year. I think he's really great, and he's going to help Atlanta move on in this series. Followed by the Dodgers and the Padres. Honestly, that series right there, I understand why Ray it's more interesting for him. Just because he's a National League guy. To me, that series right there is like the least most watched for me, just for me. I mean, it could be most watched for everybody else around the world or whatever like that. But for me, I feel like this is going to be less watched for me because the Dodgers are just so much of a better team than the Padres, and the Padres are just so lucky that they're here. I just feel like the Mets wasn't mentally there. After losing their division, to the Braves at the very end of the season, and then having to quickly go into the wild card and play 2 days after they lost the division, it just mentally took a toll on them. And I think the Dodgers are just lucky to be, or the Padres are lucky to be here. And I think the Dodgers are just going to annihilate the Padres. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the Atlanta Braves versus Dodgers NLCS rematch. That's going to be fantastic. And then I think Seattle has a really good shot at eliminating Houston in this round.
Ray, your picks for the division series.
Well, since he came out of the American League first, I'm going with the National League first. The only person that really scares me about the Phillies is Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is a Braves killer. Even when he was with the Washington National, he always can hit home runs off the Braves pitching. He's the only factor that the Phillies really have that it could kill the Atlanta Braves. But that's only one guy. I have the Braves winning. I have Max Fried coming in. I have the postseason Max Fried, not the regular season Max Fried pitching today. I have them beating them solidly. I think it's going to be a 4-3 Atlanta Braves victory because Philly's going to score too. Braves pitching is only giving up 3 runs almost 3 runs per game ERA as pitching. So I think the Braves will come out of victory today. I think the Dodgers will come out of victory, but I don't think it's going to be easily what Frankie thinks it's going to be because I think San Diego learned what they did against the Mets pitching. They could do the same thing with that because the Mets have the best 2 pitchers on staff, and Scherzer and DeGrom, hands down. I think they took care of them too. I think they're going to come in here. I think the Dodgers are going to overlook the Padres. I think the Padres could slip up and win that first game, but I think the Dodgers will take the rest of the games after that. That first game is going to be the telltale for San Diego. If San Diego can win, then they got to believe they can beat them. But is the Dodgers going to be the choke artists like they were last year? That's the key for the Dodgers and Brian Roberts to keeping his job. There rumor says if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, Brian Roberts could be out of the job. But let's take to the American League. The New York and Cleveland. Cleveland Guardians got great pitching, but New York has got great hitters. And Aaron Judge, and if they can get Judge going on home runs or base hits, or just be a team player and not looking to go home run every single time and striking out like half the time he does with his big power hit. But the only problem with Judge is, I see what his hitting is. He's a big guy. He is a very tall, big guy, and he can't handle the low pitches. He can handle the high stuff, but if the Guardians come in and pitch him low, he's going to have a hard time because his long arms and he can't crouch up against the plate. If he does that, he will strike out 9 out of 10 times. He has to stay so far behind on the other side, he can't protect the other side. So if they can get him on the low pitches and not staying in his wheelhouse up high, because if you look at his hot and cold streaks, is up high is his hot streaks. And that's where he gets all his home runs from. He cannot hit the low ball. But if you pitch it too low, he could walk because he's an adamant of eye contact where he knows he can hit and he cannot hit. He will not swing at the low pitches if they're not in the strike zone. So you have to get him swinging low. That's going to be the key. If he hits and Stanton hits, and if their whole Yankee teams hit, Cleveland ain't got a chance They got to be ready to strike and play defense. Houston, Seattle. I know Jay was on the show yesterday. He said he's not worried about Seattle. Houston better worry about Seattle. There's a problem in Houston. There's a problem in Houston if they ain't worrying about the Seattle team. Because in that Toronto game, when he said they were down, 9-1, they came, or 8-1, they came back storming. How many teams have you seen come back from that lead like that who ain't got heart? Seattle has got heart because they made the playoffs. You see that from when they made the regular season, they were jumping, they were happy. They didn't want to stop in the wild card. They wanted to get into the division race. Now they're in that division race. They want to go to the next level. The next level is getting to that next level and hopefully placing the Yankees so they can test and see how the Yankees can handle the heart of Seattle. If Houston is worried about this, just like the fans last year, we weren't worried about the Atlanta Braves. What happened to them? They weren't worried, but the Braves beat them. Seattle could do the same thing today.
And Ray, just to point on that, if Seattle and the Yankees play off in the ALCS, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm going to be a little worried. I'm going to be a little worried because Seattle has our number this year. Yes, they started beating us in that little rough patch of August and stuff like that, but still, they got even more better. They got more phenomenal. They got the great pitcher in Castillo. I think Seattle literally, like you said, they're fighting with heart and not just riding off the momentum of being down 8-1. Right, they did that. They came back and won within just 2 innings. They came back to tie it in the top of the 8th to go ahead and take the lead in the top of the 9th. Like it's just this is why we love baseball so much, because you never know, anything can happen. And Jay's being one of those fans that are like, well, I'm not worried. We got their number, da-da-da. Oh, that's cute. They got this guy, and that's cute that they got that guy. Jay, it's called sleeping on a team, and that's exactly what you're doing. You never want to do that in the playoffs, especially when a team is riding off of fuel of heart right now.
I look at the Atlanta Braves series. I say Phillies is always going to be a tough out for the Braves due to the fact they know each other and due to the fact they got Bryce Harper. But also the Braves pitching hasn't been consistent enough in the last few games either. Behind Max Fried, after you get past Max Fried, the other pitchers have been suspect for the Braves. So I'm worried about the pitching staff. I'm worried if they get to the bullpen. I'm a little bit worried getting to the closer. The closer has a lot of blown saves for the Braves. If this game is close and they have the 1-run lead, when he comes on the mound, I always on my knees praying that he get out of the inning without giving up a run, because he has blown a few saves this year.
I could say the same about the Yankees. Like, their starting pitching can be really great, and we can have like a 3-run lead or whatever like that. But then what comes to question for the Yankees is their bullpen. Can their bullpen, to turn it up this series, actually turn it up in the playoffs now and play better ball? Because throughout the entire second half of the season, the Yankees bullpen has not been looking really good. They've been giving up too many runs in too many games, and I really hope that they turn it around after these 5 days of rest.
Yeah, I think looking at the Division Series games, I think in the American League, I think the Yankees are just too powerful of a team. And the way the Guardians play, they play pitching, defense, they play small ball. They don't hit a ton of home runs. It's really Jose Ramirez and everybody else. But I think the Guardians can catch the Yankees by surprise in depending on who's on the mound for them. But somebody like when Shane Bieber's on the mound, he can deal. I think that might be a game that the Guardians could steal from the Yankees. But other than that, I don't think they have enough to overcome just the amount of offense that the Yankees have shown to have throughout the season. So I think the Yankees can take that series, the 5-game series, in 4 games, probably
3.
You think it's a sweep?
Oh, I think it's a sweep. Tonight it's Cal Quantrill versus Garrett Cole. Then on Thursday we got Nestor Cortez at the mound against Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber will be playing Thursday against Nestor Cortez. But I think we'll play fine against Shane Bieber. It's just Toronto, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay didn't know what they were doing against Shane Bieber, but the Yankees will definitely find a way. And then on Saturday we got Luis Severino on the mound, who's taking on actually Tristan McKenzie, who actually is a pretty good pitcher. That's the one game that's probably most eye watching for me is watching McKenzie, and they're going to be at home that one. So, but I think it's going to be a clean sweep. Craig, you're crazy. No 4 games. Stop that.
I think one of those, the way that Terry Francona manages and kind of handles his players, and they know what they can do and can't do. They don't try to overextend themselves, but with somebody like a Shane Bieber, you've got to be able to do more with breaking pitches, and that's something that I would look at watching in that thing. I think for the Guardians, if they have a chance to avoid a sweep, I think it's when Bieber's on the mound, because Tristan McKenzie has shown a lot of flash, but he's shown even against the Tigers have teed off on him. I know you laugh, like that's what I mean, is that Tristan McKenzie's a great young pitcher, but I think in that moment against the Yankees, I think that's a game they're going to tee off on him. I really do. But if there's a game the Guardians can win to avoid the sweep, I think it's when Shane Bieber's on the mound. He's been dealing his last couple starts. He's looked really good. But I think that's a game they could. But I think ultimately the Yankees end up winning that series. The other one that I think is
I'll tell you what, Craig, that Shane Bieber, I'm sorry, don't interrupt, but that Shane Bieber matchup between Shane Bieber and Nestor Cortez, that game is going to be a low scoring game, no doubt about it, because both those pitchers are actually good. And I'm not surprised that the Yankees haven't put Nestor Cortez as their current ace. I understand Garrett Cole's going to be our ace, but Nestor Cortez had a better season than Garrett Cole has. So I think watching them two play out in Game 2 at Yankee Stadium is going to be a low-scoring, great game to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be, if you like pitching, that's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. Offensively, maybe not so much, but I definitely agree with you on that matchup. The other AL division matchup, Seattle and Houston. Houston's got Seattle's number just in general over this season, over the last few seasons. However, Seattle has gone all in to get. They brought in Castillo. Their bats are really hot right now. That emotion, that the emotional energy that was spent to have that come back and win on the road in Toronto, I think that can help propel them to make this a much closer series than maybe somebody like Jay McLovin would like to admit. And I think, but here's the problem that I see right now with Seattle, and this is just the first game. You got Justin Verlander on the mound in Game 1. Now he has shown in his time in Detroit, specifically in big games there, he has shown that he's had the ability to allow runs early and has gotten thrown out of games early just because his pitches were not being located where he wanted them to go. So that possibility is there, but I think this series goes pretty close to the distance. This is a really tough series to pick. I think Houston would end up taking it at the end, but I think it's going to be a lot harder and a lot more stressful than Houston fans would like to admit. But I
hope it goes into 5 games. Bring Houston to New York tired. I want it.
My heart tells me I want the Mariners. I would love to see the Mariners win it, but my logic tells me that Houston will take this series
because they're going to cheat their way into getting into there. You know it. You just don't want to say it, but you know it. They're going to cheat their way into finding a way to get into the ALCS. I'll say it for you.
It helps that they have just a really good plethora of talent in their organization too. That always helps out when you just have so much talent top to bottom in an organization. But I digress. I won't go down that rabbit hole today, at least. In the National League, I think the other matchup similar to Seattle and Houston is the Padres and the Dodgers. The Dodgers have the Padres number. I think I just saw this morning the Padres have not won more than one series in the playoffs in 24 years. Usually it's one and done if they win any at all. And the fact that they're playing the Dodgers, a team that there's a great rivalry there. I think what they did to overcome the Mets and to win, I think that's going to help propel them. If they can catch somebody like Kershaw early in the series, they can make this go 5 games. I think they can. But I think ultimately the Dodgers are just too good. I think the Dodgers are just too good, top to bottom, offensively, defensively. I would love to see the Padres, Machado and company make the NLCS. It would be a great story. It would be a great story for them. But my head tells me that the Dodgers are going to be the team to take this series. The last one.
Ray wants to see the Padres. He's like, I'd rather face the Padres in the NLCS than the Dodgers.
Well, why? I mean, Braves can match up to the Dodgers too. I mean, I really don't care. I'd like to see the rematch, so we can just go ahead and beat them again. You know.
You want to face Freddie Freeman on the other side?
Yep.
Ooh, I like it, Ray. I like it.
I'm a competitor. Hey, if you don't know nothing about me, I am a very competitive person. I don't like playing a team that the Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers still scare me, but I'm a competitor. I want to see the best team play my team, and my team beating the best teams. You know, that's the way I look at it.
The best, you got to beat the best. You're right.
Absolutely, you got to play the ones that are in front of you, regardless. But you do always want to play the best because if you win, you got the bragging rights.
Dude, I remember this. My high school football team that I played on. We have lost to this one team 75 years in a row until my freshman year. And we beat them 75-0. So I'm a competitor.
All right, last series, and then I want to get into Damien's question here. The Phillies and the Braves, I think this one goes the distance, especially if the Phillies can steal a game early. If they steal the first game, I think this definitely goes to 5. Otherwise, I think it's a minimum 4 game series. I think these two teams, Ray put it on the head. They know each other really well. This is going to be a very intriguing matchup. I want to see how do the Phillies offense respond. You know, that was the big thing for them coming in. You know, they went out and got Kyle Schwarber to power, to add an extra bat to that offense and that extra lefty bat into that offense. And how are they going to be able to respond to the Braves and how they've just been so much better, especially seems like after the All-Star break, they flip the switch and they get hot. I think this series goes the distance, but I got the Braves winning in this one as well. So I'd have the Braves versus the Dodgers in the NLCS and the Yankees and the Astros in the ALCS. Either way, I know Frankie and Ray, you guys can agree. This is going to be some very intriguing matchups throughout the entire division series, and we'll be chatting all about it here on ASAP in the morning. Damien's question, finally get to it here. Would y'all say this Cleveland team is better than the 2016 World Series team? Short answer is no. I don't think they have as much offense as that team did. They've got some great pitching in defense, but I think offensively that 2016 team was way better than this team. Short answer.
There is no 2016 team. This is a whole different Cleveland. Whole different. But they're not the same. No, they're not the same.
They're not the same. We are not the same. We are not the same. All right. Last topic here. And I don't know how much hockey fans you guys are, but tonight is opening night for the NHL. Couple games coming up. We got Tampa Bay Lightning at the New York Rangers. It's going to be on 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN Plus. The other game is the Kings and the Golden Knights. Like Kings and the Golden Knights. I'm really excited. I'm always really excited for hockey season. Can't Can't tell. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Like, I don't know how much of hockey fans you guys are, but looking forward to this season. There's a handful of favorites, just like every year. But what are you guys looking forward to this NHL season? What are you guys looking forward to the most?
See my Carolina Hurricanes play. I'm a Carolina boy in heart. I guess, hockey just moved in there when the Whalers came from Hartford down to Raleigh, North Carolina at PNC Stadium, where they won the freaking Stanley Cup, battled out with the Red Wings in a couple years, and very good games there. Last year they ran into the playoffs, but they got beat. So hopefully they get a run and get a little bit closer and get back to that Stanley Cup. That's what I want to see. I want to see how the Hurricanes do this year.
I love bringing the smoke, and I'm going to bring the smoke to Ray, Mr. Carolina at heart, but he's a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. And Carolina at heart, sir. But I see what you other teams for college. Yes, you're Carolina. Oh, you're tattooed. Congratulations. You're still Jacksonville in part in some of your heart. But I'm excited to see the Bruins. I can't wait to see what the Bruins is going to do this year. I really hope they make it back into the playoffs, because the Bruins are going to be putting on a bruising up in that division. I cannot wait. I have a heated rival with another podcaster. His name is Philly Sports Guy. He's a Philly everything, and we go back and forth for our hockey season. And us at Unscripted, we are actually, this year is going to be our first year where we're all fully getting into hockey. So I have Jay McLovin, who never watched hockey. He's not fully into hockey. He was actually picking a hockey team for the first time, and I cannot wait to hear what team he's going to pick for hockey. And you have Logan Landers, who's also a Carolina because he's from Atlanta. So the closest team for him for hockey is Carolina. So he's rocking with the Carolina Hurricanes. And then you got me, I like the Boston Bruins. So we're gonna have a good season for hockey. I can't wait to see.
Well, let you know why I'm a Jacksonville Jaguar fan is I put $25,200 in the last 12 years into this team, total 12 years since I've been here in 2011. Thank you very much. I put my money where my mouth is in this team.
You put so much money into that organization, they draft no one good.
Hey, look at Devin Lloyd right now, man. That dude leading the NFL in tackles just about.
I'm just giving you some smoke.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you what. 2017, Miles Jack wasn't down, and they should have beat the Patriots, because that right there would have put the game away.
Ray, you know what I say on that? Should have, could have, would have, but they didn't.
No, the referees helped you because Miles Jack wasn't down.
Oh, referees.
Got you on that one, huh?
You sure the referees didn't do too many roughing the passes calls on Tom Brady?
Well, Tom Brady, the turnaround, the whole point of the game was when Tom Brady turned around and told Blakeman, "Hey, man, why they hit me too hard? Because I'm fragile. I'm about to break."
That is true. He did do that. That is true. He was getting hit nonstop crazy that game. I do remember it.
Oh,
but should have, would have, could have. Should have, would have, could have, Ray. We ended up winning it.
Hey, the referees helped y'all win that thing. I think the referee had some money in that game.
Oh, goodness. I'm most looking forward to seeing the progression of the Detroit Red Wings this year. Steve Yzerman, since he's come in, he's made some methodical moves each and every offseason. Last year they were 32, 40, and 10. They had 74 points, missed the playoffs, but making more and more moves. And now he's finally they fired Blashill, and they brought in Lalonde from Tampa Bay organization, where Yzerman's really been kind of taking some of that talent and bringing it into Detroit. And hey, if they can build some of that momentum that Tampa Bay's organization has done over the last couple of years to bring Detroit back to the national spotlight in the NHL and compete for Stanley Cups, that's the ultimate goal. So I think for this season, my expectation is, all right, you got 74 points. Can you make that push to try to get up towards the playoff spot now. You were knocking on the door. They got hot early last year, and then kind of just came back down to earth. But now this coming year, you got Mo Sider, who's going to be competing for the Norris Trophy, most likely over the course of the season. That's something that I'm most looking forward to with the Red Wings is can they take that next step in the Iser plan, as they call it in Detroit? Can they take that next step and push to make the playoffs? And then, try to get back to being Hockey Town once again. The sad moment, Detroit fans move on from the Lions middle of the season. Well, Damian, when you are a Detroit sports fan, like the Tigers, everybody gave up on them once about 3 weeks into the season. The Detroit Lions, first couple weeks of the year, we're usually talking about we're already talking NFL draft in Detroit, 5 weeks into the season. So absolutely, we need some hope. We need something to look forward to. We got the NHL kicking off, or I should say facing off with the Red Wings, but also the Detroit Pistons kick off in 9 days. I think it's 9 days is opening night for the Pistons playing against the Magic. So hope rings eternal in Detroit. So every time the new season comes around, yes, we move on to the ones that disappoint us and hope for the best on the next one. But that's the life of the Detroit sports fan. So there you go, Dave.
Such a sad state.
Hey, at least I can admit it and own it, right? I mean, try to be realistic in my expectations, not be super fan and have these really weird, wild expectations.
Like Jake McLovin, we understand.
Yeah, see, there you go. And the Houston Astros, yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't overlook the Mariners.
Well, see, too, you got to be a sports fan, yeah. But if you're on this thing and you're talking about sports, you got to take your fan hat off and just be biased. Like I'll talk about my teams. I give credit to certain teams, stuff like that. And people ask me, when you talk about Duke and Carolina rivalry, in basketball. As an analyst, I'll take my Carolina hat off and give you the points and breaks of how both teams can beat each other. That's the way I am. I'm an objective person. But when you get me in a fan group, all day long I'll trash talk Duke fans. But when you're a sports analyst, you can't go. You got to be biased. And I tell you, the one person that I really admire and really admire to this day is Stuart Scott. The way he can do sports. And then come back to Carolina and take his sports hat off and just be a Tar Heel fan. And then somebody asked him about a Duke and Carolina game. And he took his hat. He literally one day, I don't know if you've seen it on ESPN, when the Duke and Carolina rivalry, he wore a Carolina hat on. But when he got to ESPN, he took his Carolina hat, set it on the table, and started breaking down the Duke and Carolina game by his region. Then he puts his hat back on after that, and then he is back to a Carolina fan. So, I'm not like Jay,
Yeah, that's the professional side of what we do. Is you got to be able to take that fan hat off. You can support it just as we do on our shows, support our teams, but trying to bring that unbiased opinions is essentially what we strive to do. Some more than others, or I should say some it's part of the character. It's part of the character to just. And I think that's what Jay's playing the long game with us here. He's just got his character that's a Houston fanboy.
Yes.
But we love him anyway.
Don't call him a fanboy because then he gets bro hurt and be like, and I'm a fanboy. Jay, we know you're watching, bro. We know he's a
Houston boy that's sitting in Savannah, Georgia.
Hey, we're all transplants. We're all transplants in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I got transplanted in Florida because the military, but I didn't want to go back to North Carolina to get state taxes taken out of my retirement paycheck either. So,
hey.
I love Jay McLovin, and I shouldn't be the one to talk because I'm a slut when it comes to sports, right? Like you guys know that I'm a New England guy. I'm a Yankee, Laker, Boston Bruins man. I love my team. I support my team. I have reasons why I like my team, but I always troll Jay McLovin because he says he's a Houston boy, and I go, man, you're not no Houston boy because you can't be a Houston man and then all of a sudden say you like the Dallas Cowboys. If you're gonna be a Houston man, you have to be a Houston Texans fan as well. All right, you can't go and say I'm a Houston boy. I like the Houston Astros and I like Houston Texas Longhorn and stuff. Jay, you have to. I'm not saying you have to be, but if you're a Houston boy, you have to be a Texans guy. You can't, be a Cowboys man.
That would be like me from Detroit, being a Detroit fan, but I like this Chicago team. Like, that's not how that works. That's not how that works.
If I could go to the Carolina Panthers game and travel 6 hours and 6 hours back home, I would. But that's 12 hours a day I'm on the road. On Sunday, I got to get up if they play at 1 o'clock, I got to get up at freaking 3 o'clock in the morning to get there. And then by the time the game's over, it'd be about 12 o'clock, after midnight when I get back. So I just stay with the local team for football reason wise. NFL. Now for the Tar Heels, yeah, I will travel the distance because I do. Carolina, I didn't get to Miami this time because I had to work. It wouldn't let me off on Sunday to go to Miami, which is 6 hours away from Jacksonville. So, but I do go and catch them when they play Florida State and stuff like that. So,
no, Rob Scott, there are unwritten rules when it comes to fandom. All right, there's no breath will you ever hear me as a Detroit fan say that I'm a fan of a Chicago team, anything near Green Bay, or anything in Minnesota. You'll never hear me do that. And don't even get me started about the state of Ohio. There's neither way you'll see me do that. I think that's just an unwritten rule. It's okay. Like living in Florida, I can go to support the Jags where I used to live or in Orlando or whatever. But when it comes to playing my Detroit teams, Detroit takes precedence.
Yeah, I'm full on disrespectful. Everybody knows that. I really don't care. I like the Patriots over any New York team. I don't care. They're all like, well, you're from New York. Why do you like? Don't worry why. I have my reasons. Don't be mad because I'm not a New York guy. Your team sucks. Boo hoo. But when it comes to the Yankees, it's different because that was the very first sport that being a Latino, the very first sport growing up watching with my family was baseball. And watching it with my grandfather, he had his own Yankee room and everything like that. Us kids couldn't go in there because we get pop out. But he was a huge on Yankee fan. You couldn't walk in that house and say any other team. You walk in that house and you say any other team, you getting hit with a switch. I'm sorry, it's just that's how it is. So we grew up, watching nothing but baseball. And then as I progressed to watch sports on my own, I picked my own teams that I liked, and everybody's upset about it. Rob Scott, I understand what you're saying, because Rob he says he's a Chicago man, right? He's a Chicago guy because he lives in Chicago. That's cool. But yet the man is rocking Golden State Warriors hat because of Steph Curry. He likes Steph Curry. That's cool. Then you know what? Then say you're a Steph Curry fan. Don't go and say I like the Golden State Warriors because of Steph Curry, because that's just gonna say that you like the Golden State Warriors. It's just plain and simple. Just say you're a Steph Curry man. And it's a little confusing, bro, because you over there saying, oh, I got my Chicago Bulls hat. You see, there we go, Dub Nation. I got my Chicago Bulls hat. He got his Chicago Bulls hat in the closet, but he's over here wearing his Dub Nation hat on live streams. So it's a little confusing to certain people.
Oh goodness. But hey, we love sports fans of all walks of life, all corners of the earth. A lot of guys here on the ASAP network that are spread out all across the country. Guys in the Midwest, guys on the West Coast, the East Coast. We're all over the place here at All Sports, All Plays Network. And whether you're watching this morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or even LinkedIn, yes, LinkedIn as well, you can find us on all those platforms that you see on your screen. And, of course, scrolling at the bottom on YouTube, ASAP Sports Network, on Facebook at All Sports All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on Twitch at ASAP Network. Whatever platform you're watching, we're trying to hit some goals for each of these platforms. YouTube, we're just under 800 subscribers, trying to push for that 1,000. Facebook, we're at 9,000 followers, so check us out there. Trying to make 10,000 there. and hit the like, hit the sub, hit the share button. That helps us out on the stream all the time here on ASAP in the morning from 10 to noon. And as always, comment down below throughout the show, because we will interact with everybody. We love interacting with people. Love being able to hear your takes with us as well, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. Coming up next, we have, where is it? Right here. We got Red Kingdom coming up next. Greg,
Oh my God.
Greg and company. They're going to be talking about last night's heart attack with the Chiefs and the Raiders. I know Greg had said in our group chat last night, he's like, if the Chiefs lose, I'm gonna lose it. He's like, he's so upset.
He should still lose it, because you won by 1 point. 1 point over the Raiders, who are actually shitty right now. I'm sorry, but they really are.
And the Raiders gave them plenty.
And like you say, Frankie, a win is a win, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Win by 1 point, win by 10 points, same thing.
Quick question here before we wrap up. Damian had the question about, will Adams get some kind of suspension after pushing the photographer? I think fine, definitely, from the NFL, regardless of what your emotions are in that scenario. For Davante Adams, yes, you're frustrated. You had a big game. You had a potential to pull the game out, to steal a road game in a very tough environment. But when you do something like that, coming off to somebody who's just trying to do their job, I don't know what the other ramifications will be, but at minimum, he's going to end up getting fined.
I think he'll get suspended. I think he'll get suspended a game.
And that's very possible.
It's not like it's a player. It's not like it's a player or anything like that. That was an employee of that stadium. That was a regular human being who's probably making $14.50 an hour just carrying something around the field, and you're so frustrated that you just go ahead and randomly push him because he runs in front of you. The man is running in front of you. It takes 1 second literally to get out of your way if he's running in front of you. You don't go ahead and push the man because you're upset after a 1 point loss. You know, like, don't take it out on that man. So he's definitely getting fined, yes, hugely, but I also think he's getting suspended a game.
And the Kansas City Chiefs are probing and they're looking into it. I think the photographer pressed charges against him.
Yeah, Damian said that he'd filed a police report against him. So that'll be something to kind of monitor.
I would too. Shit, that's $1 million there. You know how much you could get for that?
Hey, the question is, I wonder if he ran in front of him, so he thought he might get pushed, so he can get a big payday too. So
if he did, he's smart. If he did, he is smart. I would have thought. If it was me, I would have thought of the same thing. I'd have been, listen, he just lost by 1 point. He looks pissed. Let me run in front of him. He touched me. I'm suing.
Oh, yeah. So we'll pay attention to that as things continue to progress. If any further action is taken, we'll talk about it here on ASAP in the morning. But gentlemen, we are very close.
I got one more thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you like the Texas Pete hot sauce, it's not made in Texas. It's made in North Carolina, and somebody is suing for that. Just let y'all know that.
Since you want to throw something out there, I'm going to throw something out there. Guys, if you watch the Yankees game and y'all think Frankie Montas is actually the real Frankie the Yankee, they are lying. They stole that name from me, and I'm actually going to go ahead and sue the state of New York for that, because that's my name. It's been my name before Frankie Montas was even on the Yankees. That's when he was being shitty on the Oakland A's. I was Frankie the Yankee, so just wanted to point that out there.
Do you got it? You got that name patent? If you don't got a patent, some people can take the name, trademark, and everything else.
I got it. It's mine. It's mine, Ray.
Random facts of the day to close out ASAP in the morning here on ASAP Network. And Rob Scott agrees. You're the real Frankie the Yankee. You're our Frankie the Yankee.
Facts.
I'm gonna sue the coffee maker for not making the coffee in the state of Jacksonville and put Maxwell in the plants here in Jacksonville. They put it somewhere else, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and sue somebody for that, you know.
We're making money somehow. We're gonna make money somehow.
Getting money somehow. They're talking about getting money somehow. But I hope everyone has a great Tuesday afternoon. Definitely check out Red Kingdom starts in just a few minutes here on All Sports All Plays Network. For Frankie the Yankee, for Ray Cruz, I am Craig. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on All Sports.
Go Braves.
All Plays.
Go Yankees. Good
Braves.
luck, Frank.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a place. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.